Whoa, easy there, Greg.
That wasn't me. That was the ketchup bottle.
Are you sure about that, Dad?
Yeah, I'm very sure. I didn't cut a fart at Christmas dinner. I wouldn't do that.
Welcome to Blood and Black Rum Podcast's Festivus Series. This year, we're bringing you all kinds of Yuletide classics, such as Home Alone 2, Lost in New York, They Did It Again, On Her Majesty's Secret Service, oh, James Bond, you seasonal scoundrel, Trading Places, where people are just shitty, and The Santa Clauses, the newest conservative Disney Plus TV show. We hope you enjoy all season long.
Wild geese that fly with the mood of their wings. These are a few of my favorite things.
Hey guys, welcome back to the Blood and Black Run podcast, and we're here with our Christmas specials. It's gonna be a great time. Christmas is here, and I'm here with my co-host Martin. We're celebrating the Christmas holiday.
How's it going?
And
It's Christmas.
It's Christmas time. I know Christmas is one of Martin's favorite times of the year. Very special for him, where he does nothing different from his normal.
Why would you?
I do. Once November comes through and you get through Halloween, it's like immediate switchovers. So flip a switch. I pull out my Christmas books. I throughout the year I read mostly like horror and science fiction and stuff. But come November, I'm pulling out the fucking Debbie Macomber romance novels. It's Christmas on Candy Cane Lane over here.
You're not reading a Christmas Story for the Christmas Carol a Christmas Carol for the 700th time?
No, you know what? It's been a while since I've read a Christmas Carol actually.
Oh my God.
And actually, you had brought up an interesting idea that I think would be kind of fun to do at some point. It'd be difficult, but it would be fun. Is to do like a whole month, a Christmas month of just doing a Christmas Carol variations. Which
I was going to say that. I was just thinking about that because that would be like the Saw marathon.
It would be very difficult because we like to talk about the themes in the movie as well as the movie itself, and so to go through 4 times and talk about well, this is how they did the Ghost of Christmas Past this time would be pretty difficult. But I think it would be kind of interesting.
Did I mention that when we did Scrooged last year?
You mentioned it this year, actually. I think you mentioned it on maybe a couple episodes previously when we were talking about what we were going to do for the Christmas holiday. You mentioned it. And I was like, yeah, that's kind of cool. That's a cool idea. I definitely think it would be kind of hard, and I think we'd have to come up with topics. We'd have to be like, how does this movie hit this topic, and how does this movie do with this topic? You know what I mean? How's the redemption of Scrooge in this movie versus
how crippled is Tiny Tim in this one?
yeah, stuff like that. But I think it would be really fun. Alas, we're not doing that this year. And also, you had talked about doing a marathon of Hallmark movies, which I also think would be not fun, but a cool idea to do. To kind of go through and.
Tiffany's a single mom who works a lot and has fallen out of touch when it comes to Christmas until a man comes and helps her find Christmas spirit.
Yeah, but what's her job? It's very important that you have a specific
business lady.
Yeah, but you gotta have something specific. Is she
She's in advertising.
Okay. She's in advertising. She's a TV exec who gets no time. She's promoting all the Christmas shit, but she's not actually into the spirit, stuff like that. You got to have something specific that catches her, or she's a veterinarian, something like that. She cares so much about the dogs, but yeah. So I think that would be a cool idea too, and that's something in the future. You talked about a Lacey Chabert month of just doing Lacey Chabert Hallmark movies, which I think is a cool idea as well. We could also sneak Mean Girls in there at some point as a kind of an offshoot from that.
Well, because we're both huge fans of Mean Girls, and it's a shame that on year 8 we still haven't done it yet. But unfortunately, the main line the movie's known for is right smack dab in Halloween territory. So it's I
know. We'll have to find a time that we can actually do it. But
just imagine being Lacey Chabert on set, probably filming 5 of these at the same time. Okay, spin the set around.
I mean, if they were smart, that's what they would do, because all she's got to do is swap sweaters. They've got a whole bunch of sweaters in the back. She just
a bunch of random European men that's like acting in it. Like
yeah. All right, get that other guy over here. We can do it with him now this time. Well, we're not doing that either for this for this series. It's a lot less intricate than any of those. It's really just random movies that we picked out for this year for the Christmas season. So,
and it's the first year that we're not doing any horror related Christmas films.
Yeah, that's true. We exhausted ourselves on the Silent Night Deadly Night verse, so that's kind of out for now.
Well, I'm glad, because I think the only things that are left are like bottom of the barrel, home sweet home level films, and my heart can't take that.
We still have Don't Open Till Christmas, which I think is a pretty good movie, and one that I would like to do. It actually just came out on Blu-ray from Vinegar Syndrome not too long ago. I didn't get it though. If I had, then we would probably do it this year. But I might
hear that Vinegar Syndrome.
Yeah,
Did you hear that?
They sent me other stuff. They sent me Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2 on 4K, but they didn't send me Don't Open Till Christmas. So,
well, I mean, who's the winner there?
Yeah,
you won out.
Truthfully, TCM 2 is not my favorite. It's very screamy. It's a very screamy movie. It's kind of gets annoying in parts, but neither here nor there. Like Don't Open Till Christmas would be a fun one that I think we should do. If Elves ever gets a solid transfer, then I would think about it. It's a terrible, terrible movie. That is definitely Home Sweet Home level of a movie. Elves is really bad. I actually watched it maybe 2 years ago again, and I had a really hard time getting through it because it is so bad. But it would be one to do. So there's a couple other things for horror, but this year we're kind of foregoing that. We're gonna do all holiday favorite for the most part holiday favorite type movies, and we're gonna start out with one of my favorite movies for the holidays, part of a twofer that I normally do for the holidays every year. And actually, I can watch...
Because it's basically the same film.
Yeah, really. I could watch these movies over and over again throughout the holiday season. I really like it. Doesn't matter. If it's on TV, and it's almost always on TV, literally just turn on the TV to like one of the movie stations, it's on. I guarantee it. Like, or flip around. If it's not on the one station, it's on another station. It's going to be on. If it's on TV, I'm going to just have it on. Because it is one of my they're my favorite, one of my favorite movies, probably my favorite holiday movies that are not like Black Christmas. So we've already done the first movie. We already did Home Alone. Did that?
Took us a long time to get there.
Did we do it last year?
Yeah, we did.
Yeah, last year. So we already did Home Alone. So we're gonna do Home Alone 2, Lost in New York this time, and it's kind of a little difficult to do these movies because I feel like I have so much wrapped up in them. I have so much nostalgia for them, and I've seen them so many times that it almost gets hard to talk about the reasons why I like them or to be subjective about the movies. But we're going to do our best, and Martin took copious notes during his watch of the movie, so we're going to kind of run through those a bit as we can get them into the show in a linear manner. So we're gonna go through that. We've got notes. I'm glad he took a thesis. He did a thesis on this.
I've seen Home Alone 2 more than I've seen Home Alone 1.
I think that's the case for me as well. Yeah, Home Alone 2 is a movie that I feel like it probably depends on your situation, like growing up. But for me, has a very big nostalgia factor because of the New York City setting. Because for one thing, New York City during the holidays was a big thing for me when I was growing up. Like we would routinely, every year, not every year, but a lot of years, we would take bus trips down to New York City. So it's kind of like a nostalgia thing. If you've ever been to New York City during the holidays, it really depends on how you feel about that. Like if you are a fan of Christmas and you're a fan of busy, then New York City is like the place to be for Christmas because it is fucking fanatical.
Not only that, it's 90s New York City. So you know what that means? We've gone back since the 70s New York City. It's a crime-ridden hellhole.
Well, that too, because the other thing that really stands out about the setting too for me is is Seinfeld. Is why that's so nostalgic for me too, because Seinfeld is a very nostalgic show for me. It's like a comfort show. It's one of those shows that I can just put on and just like let it ride in the background and feel homey.
That's why we call what we do the Festivus Series.
That's right. So I think that's part of why I have such a strong feeling for Home Alone 2, and I like both of the movies a lot. But I do have I've seen this one a lot more. And so what are your reasons for seeing it a lot more? Just because it was on TV more, or?
No, I had both of them on VHS as a kid. The Talk Boy is one of them. I had Talk Boy as a child. Got one for Christmas.
I did not. No. Mm-mm.
You didn't get one?
No. I don't. I definitely don't remember having one, or even wanting one, or even knowing what one was at the time.
I can't remember if I asked for one or not. I don't know. It's kind of immaterial, but I had one. You didn't. But I'll tell you right now. I'll tell you right now, though. It did not have the audio quality at all that it does in this film.
The high fidelity that
you think there's like you think it was a boom mic he was working.
Yeah, right. Somebody's working on it in the background. It's getting, now it's getting uploaded to like a soundboard, and somebody's like working on it digitally. Remove the noise. Fix the echo.
I can only imagine how much that fucking thing cost. But I got one for like Christmas.
How was yours? Like it was you talk into it and it comes out really tinny, like crackly, and
the life on it was shit, and
did it actually use tapes?
Yes,
like in this, like you actually had to record onto a tape.
Yeah, you had tape, and you would put it in. You could use any blank tape, which for our younger folks, there used to be this thing called cassette tapes, where it was basically smaller than your iPhone and had tape reel on it, and that's how you would listen to music before CDs became really popular and cheaper. And this thing, you'd shove it in there, and you would record things on it, like farting or whatever the hell you wanted to, and you could play it back.
I'm actually surprised that it used tape, because it seems like a complicated device for like a kid, right? Like
you're just shoving a tape in there and
did it record over it? Like if you ran it back, it would just record over what you recorded previously.
If you ran it back and recorded over it, yeah.
Oh, cool. Nope, didn't have one of those. Did you have? There was like this. It was almost like a stereo that you would insert specifically made tapes, like mini tapes, and it would read them to you. And I remember specifically, it was like shaped like a robot.
No.
And you would insert the tape, and I had Tales from the Crypt Keeper tapes, which would be based on the cartoon show. There's Tales from the Crypt, which was the adult show on HBO. But then there was Tales from the Crypt Keeper, which was the kids' version, which was an animated series. And these tapes were the Tales from the Crypt Keeper stories, basically, but they were told on tape. I don't even know what that was called, but if anybody knows what that was, feel free to let us know, because I definitely had that one. I didn't have a Talk Boy, but I did have that.
It's even got its own Wikipedia page.
The Talk Boy?
Yes, it does.
Well, I feel like I missed out. I feel like
Like I said, I can only imagine how expensive one of those fucking things were, you know.
Yeah, really. I like it, too, that it's fucking got Macaulay on the Wikipedia page. Macaulay Culkin is, like,
the original Talk Boy was designed as a prop. Used by Macaulay Culkin, but John Hughes sniffed money.
Yeah, right. And people were like, holy shit. This thing could be big.
Which is funny, too. Like, you mean like somebody had to think about that? The first film made yacht loads of money, and then they had to kind of think about, like, oh, what? Like, I'm surprised they weren't shoving shit in here left and right trying to get you to buy shit for your kids. Like, hey, don't just get a Talk Boy.
Oh. I found that tape player that I had. It's called the Tiger 2XL. It is currently online, and you can buy one for $163.99. But yeah, that's what I had.
You can buy a Sega Saturn with that money. That's even better. We're just like going right down
I know.
nostalgia lane right now.
Well, Home Alone 2 was right in our, released
Now,
in 1992.
I did not have the game for my Genesis.
The Home Alone 2 game?
Yeah.
No, I didn't have that either.
I had the original Home Alone game for my Genesis.
I didn't have that. I had Power Rangers and I had Batman. I did not have Home Alone games.
Speaking of that, crispy crack in the background.
Yeah, it just fucking went all over again. I told you this. I
think it's
no
just you. Both times I cracked mine open, they've been fine.
I'm
$799 for a unopened, unused Talkboy on eBay. Wait, no, it's used. This thing's beat the crap. Oh my god, who would be foolish to do such a thing?
Obviously, no one. That's why it's still there. Yeah, so speaking of, we'll take a break real quick because we're kind of getting sidetracked on all kinds of stuff. Speaking of the crispy crackiness of that you just heard in the background.
Excuse me.
I'm going to have to use a piece of paper to fucking wipe up the fucking beer spill that I had. It's like Exxon over here. We are talking, we got a beer on the show, and like I said, when I said to Martin, we don't have them on the show that often, this beer company. So I thought it might be appropriate. Well, it is appropriate. It's appropriate for this episode because, of course, the subtitle of Home Alone 2 is Lost in New York. And I'm talking about Brooklyn Brewery, which, if you haven't seen, there's actually a nice YouTube series where it's like head brewmaster talks about styles of beer and does like tastings and tries to figure out whether it's a cheap beer or expensive beer and stuff like that. Head brewmaster is the that's on that YouTube video is the guy that brews for Brooklyn Brewery, and
I was lucky enough to go down there, not to the actual brewery, but to like one of the brew pubs down there.
Yep.
I don't know how many they got last year when I was down there for a show, and it was nice.
Never been, but I've had a few of their beers. I haven't had a ton of their beers.
We do get a lot of them too.
Yeah, I think part of the reason why I haven't is because their 4-packs, or I'm sorry, their 12-packs with 4 different beers in them are a little confusing to me because they never do a rotation. It's always like the same box, but then they like put one different beer in it, and you don't know what is in that pack. So it's kind of, to me, I'm always kind of like, I don't know if I want to take the chance, and I've already had like every single beer in that pack. So
I don't know why
me,
a lot of some of these I don't have on my my Untapped because I've had like a lot of their stuff, like the Bel Air Sour and stuff, and it's kind of started off before we kind of they got a Pilsner now, that looks delightful, but Brooklyn is kind of, at least for me, and Ryan might agree, as a brewery, is one of those craft breweries that's they're there. They put out good products, but by good compared to a lot of others, they're incredibly mediocre. And what do I mean by that? They're a craft brewery that's been around for so damn long that like kind of the stuff they do now, they're chasing trends instead of trying to do anything new and unique, and they're making their money. They're happy where they're at. Like your Sam Adams, like your Goose Island, stuff like your Saranac now, like things that like if you drink it, you won't be offended, but you're never gonna be like, I gotta have that again.
Yep. Yeah.
Like it's been a long time since I've had a Brooklyn where I've kind of been like, holy shit, I gotta have this. Like the West Coast IPA was one of the first from them that I remember being they're the first beer I remember having from them that I was kind of like, this is really fucking good. But that was 10 years ago now, so it's just dip in every now and then, but for the most part, it's not anything that I go out of my way to grab because I know I'll be content with what I got, but I won't be, I won't be astounded by it.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with that. I think that Brooklyn is fine, and it, it's just not something that I go out of my way to get every now and then. But I do like a lot of their seasonal beers. I think their summer IPA is pretty good, and I think they do a pretty good job all around. It's just not something that I'm like struck by. So, but I when I saw this one, I was intrigued because I do know that we have had the Brooklyn Winter Lager on a past show. Had that one, but they now have a Brooklyn Winter IPA, which is a red IPA. It's called Sledder's Choice Red, and we had not had that one, and I had never had it before, so I was intrigued, and I picked up the 12-pack, and here we are. And Martin had actually had it earlier this year, or like early, like January. So
I can't for the life of me remember when I've had it, but
it was the
checked
tail
into
end.
it. You know what? Maybe I had it like at Project 29.
Could be. Yeah, it was definitely. It was right at the beginning of 2022, and January, so still the winter. But yeah, you had already had it. But I thought it would be a cool thing to do because obviously it has loads of stuff that ties in with Home Alone 2. We've got Brooklyn Brewery from New York City. We've got being a winter ale. We've got red because there's all kinds of redheads in Home Alone. And John Hughes has a thing for redhead moms. Apparently that's his fetish. So it all ties in. So for winter IPA, what do you think about this one?
It's okay. Take a nip there. It's all right. I'm not a big fan of red IPAs to begin with. Really, and we've done a couple on here, and I think for everyone I said the same thing. I just don't think the style works that great. I think the overly bready maltiness that they kind of add with a red IPA to a regular IPA, it just doesn't really pair that well. It becomes a weird mixture of the hops and like going from a traditional West Coast style IPA where you do get that nice balance of the hops and the malt. I think the maltiness just kind of just always a little off-putting. It's not bad. It's, crisp. It's easy drinking. It's 7%. But, I mean, to be honest with you, it's just very fair. It's nothing I would go gaga over. If you don't like, breadiness in your IPAs, then this ain't going to be for you. Like, if you're looking for like a NIPA. Does it make me feel like I'm warming up for the winter night? Not really.
Yeah, I mean, I think that this is I like it. I like red IPAs for the most part. I think that they have an interesting style to them. I do think it's kind of weird to call it an IPA because with the redness of it, it almost like kind of cues towards like a ESB or like a it's not as good as an ESB, but it kind of hews towards that instead of an IPA with all of the maltiness to it. But I think that they've done a pretty good job with this style. It does have notes of rye, which do come out a little bit towards the end, and it's not as pronounced as something like the Ruthless Rye, from Sierra Nevada or anything like that. But it definitely does have subtle hints of rye to it that come out with the breadiness. I do like how the can notes too, like the tastings of it as juniper, jam, and then they say
where are these?
yeah, and then they say notes of snowfall, which I like a lot. Curious what snowfall tastes like in this beer, but
where is the juniper? Where's this jam? What kind of jam? That's very vague. Is it just? I don't think there's anything that exists on Earth that's just jam.
I know juniper and jam, but I think they've done a pretty good job of this, and I think it's pretty drinkable, especially at 7%. And I think for the 12-pack that you get, I'm satisfied with my purchase.
Like you said, it's not bad, but I mean it's nothing astounding. Mm-hmm. Nothing that's gonna take me away.
Sure.
looking on their website, I see they got a Shackmeister, which is supposed to be their for the like pale ale for you and like, hey, you want to get some Shake Shack. And these Shake Shack burgers do look good, but I got a problem. I've never been there, but I already have a problem if I ever go there. Crinkle cut fries. Nobody likes crinkle cut fries. They're literally the lowest tier of French fry.
That's true. I don't really
get them off your menu. They're overly soggy nonsense. You need a nice steak fry or a shoestring or a curly. None of this crinkle cut fry crap. Leave that to Nathan's, okay? Nobody's gonna eat them anyway. You go for the hot dog, but you know.
It's true. I agree about the crinkle cut.
No amount of bacon and cheese that you dump on those fries are gonna save them. They're gone. The crinkle cut is just not. It's not built for the fry.
Right. All right. Let's get back to Home Alone 2 because we got a lot to talk about. And I know the first thing that you want to talk about, the first thing that you really want to get out, especially it's the first thing on your notes, is you want to say, and go ahead, I'll let you say it.
Oh, well, first that you're not using the proper name title. It's Home Alone 2, Lost in New York
I
City.
did say that. It's for this movie. This podcast is already going to run 2 hours long. We got to cut down where we can, and that's my self-editing there.
No, because you do that every time. You editorialize and take out the subtitle, okay? But I did too, because I just wrote on the notes, Home Alone 2. But now, my first notes on this is the same notes I had with the first film. Fuck this family. This family sucks. What a miserable hellscape we walk into again. The McAllister families running around, their asses on fire, ill-prepared for a trip to Florida, which... That's how you know this film is 90s as shit. Oh, where are you going to go on vacation for Christmas? We're going to Miami. Ooh.
Yeah, I know.
You literally went to France last year. This time you're like, let's go to Miami.
That's what I was thinking. Do you think is that a downgrade for this year?
Yeah, you might. Why not just say, hey, we're going to Dolly World or Graceland,
That's what I was thinking too. Like last year was very privileged and uptight. We're traveling internationally. We're going to Paris. This year they were like, it was a lean year, guys. We're going to Miami this time. Sorry. But no,
like that's how you know it's so 90s, because this is why people from upstate 30 years later, they think their dream home is in fucking Florida. Like, oh, if I only got out of upstate New York and went to Florida, everything will be great. And then,
I do like, too, they kind of seem to be going on the pretense that Frank has said, hey, we stayed at when we were on our honeymoon, we stayed at this really great hotel, basically. And we should check this out for our trip to Miami. And so they do it. And then when they get there, they're like, the fuck is this shit? It's like a dive hotel. Basically,
rain. Well, they're going down in the middle of hurricane season. Like, yep. And this is like right around the time where Hurricane Andrew would have went fucking plummeting through Florida and burying it underwater.
Yeah. So I like that they get there and they find out like, wait a second, this isn't the dream trip that we were all anticipating.
I'm just expecting some Michael McKean to pop out and be like, chicanery, this chicanery,
And I think it's funny too that you hate this family so much. So obviously they do have a very extended family because between the two families, Frank and his wife and Peter and his wife. They have like 8 kids apiece between them. Like I think there's 5 in Kevin's family, and I think there's like another 4 or something in the other family. And so like, first of all, they must be very fertile. Everybody
that would be my own personal hell right there. Yeah. Being like, good news, you're going on a vacation with your family and like
you and your 8 cousins.
It's like. Just like, oh, God.
Because you have a pretty extended family, too, which is why I thought, you would kind of like see the appeal of having like this kind of vacation, but no, apparently not. Like you didn't have extended family Christmas.
We went we went on a vacation once as a family to New Jersey with me, my parents, my 2 sisters, and my grandmother, and we were supposed to be there for 3 days, and we left on the second day because everybody was a miserable wretch in the 103-degree heat. We were supposed to go to New York City and see the ocean, didn't get to do that. Went to Six Flags twice, and everyone was pissed off and miserable except me, and we went back home.
So there you go. That's why Martin has such a dislike of this family, because they're actually doing things and potentially having a better time than his family did. So
listen, I don't keep it a secret. I'm 33 years old. That was my only vacation my entire life.
I mean, and
every other time there was like somebody in the family was going out of town like for a vacation like that. If my mom was going to Colorado or California to visit relatives, it was just her and somebody else. We weren't fucking tagging along. It was her to leave us to our own endeavors. So, so we weren't like the Barber clan packing into the fucking, Ford Fiesta and heading on down to Virginia Beach for Memorial Day.
Well, that's what I was saying too, is that like I didn't have as an extended family as they do in this movie, so I don't have the experience of like having so many people going on the trip at the same time. But you're right, it does look like hell, and obviously it is hell because this is the second time in a row that they've missed Kevin. And
not only that. First off, John Hurd, shame on you. You fucking idiot.
You messed it up again.
Well, I mean, again, like, so stupidly, though. You unplugged your goddamn
alarm clock,
and you didn't think it wasn't going to sync up. It's 1992. There's no satellites beaming down to your fucking alarm clock as soon as you plug it back in to let you know, hey, this is what the time is. You got to set that son of a bitch by yourself. So the fact that you just went there cavalierly and just unplugged it and shoved it back in there, like... Why was he unplugging it? What were they taking? What was he taking off that?
He was grabbing the
cord? The extension cord?
The outlet? No, it was like the special adapter to the outlet for whatever reason. Like, because remember he asked like, oh, do they have those fancy outlets or some shit like that? Because he was thinking about Paris, how they have the different outlets. Yeah. I think he was grabbing something like that. But you're right. Yeah, no, they messed it up again. And so John Hughes, that brings us to a good point. John Hughes is really getting a lot of mileage out of basically... The
first act is the same goddamn thing. He sat there laughing his ass off to the bank as he sat there writing this shit again. Like, I'm going to rewrite out of the 3 acts, 2 of them are going to be the same fucking thing.
I know. Like, and it kind of plays out in Home Alone 2 like it's, it's like almost like an Easter egg to the previous one. Like, you remember this? Remember when this happened? But
remember when Kevin wasn't in the van? Well, and they're like, "Where's Kevin?" And he's actually in the front seat.
Yeah. It's pretty much like this was easy writing for Johnny. He already did the hard work. This is like when you get an assignment and it's like, I just wrote that essay last week for another class. Like, I'm just gonna redo it. And that's pretty much what John Hughes did here. And to be honest with you, I think that for the most part, producers were all too happy to have him do that. They're like, well, the first one was such a success, John. I mean, if you can copy it down just a little bit differently this time, like, perfect. We're in the clear. So I think
actually too, the whole montage of like when you go playing around and they're all running around trying to scramble to make it to the fucking vans. I think that was just stock footage from the first film that they they changed the lighting in the background on the film, and see, you didn't have to film anything. Chris Columbus clapped his hands and he's like, yeah, I did my job.
I mean, where we get the differences is when they actually have to go to the airport, and the airport is the hectic scene where they're running through the airport, and Kevin's being a little shit. It's like, Kevin, you don't need a fucking battery right now.
No, hold on, time out. Kevin's not being a little shit. He's not being a little shit. He's being a kid. Dad's being a son of a bitch. You're running your family stampeding through O'Hare like you own the fucking place.
Yeah.
And not only that, you jogging around. You're not holding your kid's hand or anything. You're following. You're like, yeah, kid, come on, you can catch up. Let's go.
You know what? They should have rented a fucking like golf cart cavalcade that would just drive through. Because not only I've flown a few times and never have I been greeted at the fucking lobby doors with men that come out and take your suitcases out and it's like, sir, do you need anything else? Should I help shuttle this gun through security for you? You know, I've never been greeted like that.
Well, hold on. Have you seen McAllister Estate?
Well, I know. That's what I'm
there
saying.
you go.
Yeah.
That's why you haven't had such luxury. You don't
Apparently
live.
not. But
Kevin
again, so why didn't they rent a fucking caravan of golf carts to bring them to the gate?
This is before O'Hare and all the airports put in like the fucking treadmill for you to stand
Right?
on.
Yeah. The standing treadmill.
Carry your fat ass there. Not only that, though, let's just say when Kevin's searching for the battery for the talk boy, and his dad runs off, and your dad in a pea coat runs the other way behind him, and Kevin starts chasing after him. What the softest jog I've ever seen somebody take in my life. Like the daintiest, like.
Did you see him though? He didn't wear his tennis shoes. He was in very nice flats, and it's slippery in O'Hare. You never know what
like
kind
it's
of
like
janitor's been around.
it's just funny. He's just like daintily jogging through.
Not only that, but Christopher Columbus gives us like 3 different edits of him running from the booth. Like when they first start out, because like you see the backside of Kevin's father getting further away because he's staring at him and he's like, oh no, he's getting away, but I've got the battery, I've got to put the batteries in, so he stops. And then you see like this guy come out of the booth from behind and then start running, so then he notices them again, and then you see him again from like the front side running away. But that's our 3rd edit, and it's like in the span of 2 seconds.
Not only that, too, you also get, like, when they get to the terminal, they're like, where are we going? The gate 817! Gate 817! And then you see the signs, like, H and K, and it's like, none of them say 817, like, 800 to, like, or anything, so that whole, it's gate 817 is fucking stupid and pointless, doesn't mean anything.
I can definitely see this happening, though. I can definitely like it. It does. It's a realistic idea that you would, you'd be running through the airport and your kid just goes to the wrong one. I do like that. There's a lot of serendipity here. That like he runs into the lady, smacks the fucking tickets out of her hand, and fly all over the place, and she's just a nice lady, like, oh, it's here somewhere. I don't know. And then this guy comes out of the fucking plane. This one random guy.
We're taking off.
Yeah, he's like, board him. He just like he just barks orders, board him, but find his father before you leave him on there.
And they don't even find him. They just like, he's like, oh, I think that's him. And you're like, all right, kid, have a good flight.
Yeah, can you imagine? It's just like just some random guy that she leaves him with, and she doesn't even bother to check.
No wonder why. The airline industry's gone downhill in the past 30 years. Fucking goddamn, the films like this giving the flight attendants a bad name.
It shows fucking American Airlines or Delta, wherever they fly.
It is American again.
American. They accidentally human traffic a lot.
What is it with like films of like the 80s and 90s when it comes to like sponsorship deals like this and them being shitty? Like, you remember the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle movie starts off with a Domino's guy trying to deliver a pizza and he can't do it in time because the assholes are under the grate. Like, sorry, loser, the pizza's free because you didn't give it to us on time.
Definitely a great advertisement for American Airlines. Hey, we might lose your kid.
It's not like today. It's not like today where, James Bond's sitting there with a Sony Bravia TV in front of him as he's got the Heineken tipped perfectly. So you can be like, Heineken, good beer.
I mean, honestly though, this whole sequence leads to probably the best scenes in the movie, which is when they're at the baggage claim and they're passing the.
Well, no, hold on.
Oh.
You forgot as they're taking off, and this is actually a part that I thought was really funny, is when Kevin sits down and he's on the plane, he's like, oh, you ever been to Florida before? The guy next to him just starts speaking French.
Yes. Yeah.
Like
that's a good.
it's actually a nice, really touch, and I was laughing my ass off.
Well, I think it's really funny when he like
he just
like
keeps
a kid
talking.
does, he just like starts. He just puts his headphones on. Yeah, just like not even. It's sort of like the introvert's way of getting on it. I'm just gonna put these on. Yeah. And he just keeps talking.
But you're missing the best part. We get to hear the greatest Christmas song of all time.
That is
Tom
true.
Petty and the Heartbreakers, Christmas All Over Again.
And to be honest with you, I thought this was time traveling because I was like, "There's no way that that Tom Petty song was out in 1992." But yes, it was.
Yes, it was.
For some reason, I was always thinking that it was like written in like the early 2000s. I don't know why. But yeah.
Where's Michael Bublé's cover version of it? Oh, baby, it's Christmas. All over.
I think that's the Brian Setzer Orchestra.
It's the same damn thing.
No, but that does take us to like some of my favorite parts when they get to the baggage claim and they're just passing the luggage along. Here's Kevin's. Here's Kevin. Pass it along. And then, it comes back around. Kevin's not here. And then you get to that end where, we get that absolute harpy scream from Catherine O'Hara, who gives us that nice,
It's not a John Hughes movie either without a fucking faint. Somebody's got to faint in it at some point.
Right. But then my second favorite part of this whole sequence to get to this is when they end up at the police station, and you noted it as well, where they come in and they're like so kind of distraught about it that they're just joking around because they don't know what to do. So they're like, "Never lost our baggage though." Knock on wood.
It's great because they're doing serious. Like they're like, "Oh, you lost your kid. He's probably back in Chicago. Has he caused trouble? No, he hasn't caused trouble. Has this ever happened before?" And Catherine O'Hara's like, no. And John Hurd's like,
Yeah. Yeah, kind of has.
And then with like, you're like, oh yeah, that happened last year. They cast their family tradition. Don't lose the baggage though. And they knock on the fucking desk.
I know.
And they're laughing, and the cops just looking at them like, oh my god, like seriously. So like they when this guy's calling Chicago, he doesn't fucking like call like Illinois like Child Protective Services. Like
right.
I got two parents up here who claim they've lost a child for the second time and back to back.
Yeah, like
there's no intervention or anything. It's just like, oh, these parents.
You would definitely think CPS is going to be looking into this. Like, this seems like too much of a coincidence that you've lost him twice in a row now. It seems like a very good plan to like lose a kid in the airport and just like act like I don't know where he went. And obviously too, then they would start interviewing people and they'd find out that, oh yeah, Kevin made a scene at the recent Christmas Carol.
I think this movie's proof of why like millennials are so protective of their children though. Like you can't bring your kid anywhere without them being like, where's everyone's like kind of like got them glued on them because they got this anxiety from watching this movie when they're 4 years old. Like, oh my god, I could be lost at an O'Hare and nobody cares. I'm lost in O'Hare and nobody cares.
Lost in the biggest city. In one of the biggest cities in the world.
You know what's funny though? I'll say. You know what's funny though too is when you were talking about shit. What were you just saying?
I'm just talking about the cops. How that was funny. The I don't know what else. Yeah. I guess you lost your train there.
Yeah, I did. But...
Well, that's okay. I wanted to move on a little bit because I don't want to go through like the film in chronological order. Obviously, like people have seen this a million times, so we don't really need to go in chronological order. But I'll try to touch on some of the ideas that you have in your notes and stuff like that.
Oh, that was it. Sorry, came to me. What do you think of Kevin having to apologize for Buzz doing the most unfunniest prank ever and everyone thinking it's uproariously funny, scandalous, putting candles next to Kevin's ears as he's singing his little solo at the Christmas pageant?
No, I agree.
Yes, Kevin, you must sit here and apologize, not just to Buzz, but to your whole family, because you made us all look like assholes.
Yeah, no, I think it's perfectly acceptable for Kevin to find out that he's being made a mockery of in front of the entire audience, and they're laughing hysterically. They think this joke is so funny, and so like what is he supposed to do with that? Like, he's just been completely embarrassed, and then like his mom basically acts like he was the one that caused the entire scene, and it's like, no. I'm pretty sure that Buzz caused an entire scene.
Well, it's the same thing in the first film when, like, he's like, "Oh, can I have some cheese pizza?" And Buzz like, "I ate it all," and pretends to throw it up, like, bleh! And then Kevin hits him, and they're like, "Look what you did, you little shitbag!"
I know, it's all instigated by Buzz. It's not right. They definitely understand where Kevin is coming from here, because he's getting the short end of the stick every time. And he recognizes that because he's a smart kid. He definitely understands the nuances of like how he's not getting treated in the appropriate way. But Buzz should be getting the reprimand here.
Speaking of kids, real quick before we move on, you ever wonder what's Fuller's teeth like when he hit 30? You think they're just rotted out from all the coke that he's sitting there chugging away?
I know. I mean, Kieran Culkin has actually done a little glow up here, but Fuller, it's hilarious because like at the end of the movie too, they show him and he's got like 6 cans of Diet Coke in the bed too. It's great. Yeah, he definitely has a problem.
Like I was saying, pissing the bed's not even, that's like the least of his worries. Like,
he's brushing his teeth.
I would say not even like you better be flossing religiously. Like tooth decay, like you're like a dentist's like dream and nightmare at the same time. Like, I'm gonna make a lot of money, but goddamn, it's gonna be a lot of work.
Yeah, I know. All right, so let's move on a little bit here and let's talk. So Home Alone 2 is notoriously a very long movie. It's 2 hours long. Home Alone itself was, was fairly long. It was about like an hour and 45 minutes or so. But Home Alone 2 is, a very long movie at 2 hours long. And so it has a lot going on to hit that 2 hour mark. We can kind of break it down into like maybe 3 different conflicts here. So the first one we have is obviously Kevin getting lost in New York City. That's one of the main conflicts.
He gets lost in Manhattan.
Well, sure. If you want to be specific.
He's not going down to fucking Staten Island,
Yeah, right.
Running into fucking Pete Davidson, like, "Hey, what's up? Go Jets!"
Long Island,
or running down to the Bronx or anything.
Yeah, that's true.
It's just, I'm in Times Square. Or I'm in Central Park.
The Lost in Manhattan idea gives us a very nice 90s New York City vibes to it. Obviously we get all the kind of sightseeing and stuff. We get a nice little montage of him visiting various areas of New York City. And honestly too, for him hiking it all across New York City, he's definitely putting in some miles here.
That poor taxi driver's like, holy shit, like,
I know. But the other conflict that we get is between Kevin and the hotel workers, which is led by Tim Curry as the concierge.
Yes.
And Tim Curry. I love the whole idea of Tim Curry being this like super snoopy concierge who's like just gotta know what's going on with Kevin and why he's there.
Rob Schneider is Rob Schneider in early 90s fashion, and it's delightful. Just like, yep. And then you got Random Woman.
Well, her name is Hester Stone, which if you can catch that on her little name tag, which I don't even know if it's listed on IMDb as what her actual name is.
She's just listed as what the hell? She's just listed as desk clerk Dana Ivey.
Oh, really? Yeah. Her name is Hester, which I like. I like this. If you watch it I watched it on Disney Plus, which has the 4K with HDR, and
I know you can actually see what's like all the stuff.
You can see stuff. It's a pretty good transfer, but I love the 3 of them because it does add such a slapstick shenanigans to it. I will say too, we point this out. I pointed out about James Woods. Rob Schneider, noted asshole and
conspiracy theorist.
Yeah, weird dude in real life. But I do think he puts in a pretty good job as the bellman here.
Well, I say early Rob Schneider, early '90s Rob Schneider work is bit parts like this. They're always fantastic. Him being the banker in Beverly Hillbillies, the movie, with Jim Varney and Diedrich Bader. He's fucking great, and and these little because they're basically little SNL parts, basically.
Yeah,
where he gets just going.
He has some great deliveries here. I mean, and part of that is because the jokes land. The jokes are good, but there's a really great part where he has to go and get a tip and stuff, and it's a kind of a return to the same joke over time. First of all, Macaulay gives him fruit stripe. That would be certainly be a tip, right?
Hooray, beer!
Yeah. No, he gives him fruit stripe first as a tip, and then when he comes back, he says, "No, you know what? No, thank you. I've still got some."
And they set that up perfectly because the first time we see him, Tim Curry's like, "Cedric, don't count your tips out front."
Yes. And Tim Curry's really great in this too. The film has a lot of good details. One of my favorite details is when they're chasing Kevin through the hotel, and Dana Ivy's kind of turns around. It's kind of a deer in the headlights, and just gets her body in front of him, and he slides under, and then they all get tackled. And Rob Schneider's on the ground, and it shows Tim Curry dragging him away, and there's just this great sound effect of the squeakiness of the
and he's
dead.
He's just deadpan where it's just no. The best part of that whole bit, which I do love the whole hotel chase bit, as short as it is. I love the part where Tim Curry's trying to figure out what's this kid doing here by himself, and he says he's got his father here, but I haven't seen it. And he finds out that the card's been stolen, and as Kevin's sitting there and he's watching the Grinch, how the Grinch stole Christmas, and the limousine where he's eating his own cheese pizza, and we get the nice little light over the Grinch, and when you see stolen, and then you see bingo, and you hear the ting, and the light go over his head as he's smiling just like the Grinch.
Yeah,
that's so perfect.
It's a great fade into that. I know he does it so well. He does
speaking of, I will say though, seeing as children back in the day, when you're like, what do you mean he didn't swipe this card and through a machine? No, we had these old things where you'd have to lay down a piece of paper. You had to put the card down on this little brick, put a piece of paper down, run the thing over it so it imprints onto the paper, so you could fill out the note on there to then send to the credit card company to then have you get billed, reimbursed for that money. I know, because even in the mid 2000s, when I was still working retail, not mid 2000s, early 2010s, I should say, when I was still working retail, if the power went out, no, that didn't mean you stopped fucking processing things and went home. You broke that fucker out, and if anyone had anything on a credit card, you had to sit there and go. So that thing would have taken that. They probably wouldn't have found out that thing was stolen until 2 months from then.
Well, Kevin's
dead, whenever he was in New York. I say whenever American Express or Visa or MasterCard gets around to processing it,
that would certainly be a more grisly Home Alone 2. You have Kevin struggling on the streets,
dead body, just
dying in Central Park. They find him. And the parents find out, and then the police call a month later, and they're like, "We have good news,
sir. Your son was
we've located Kevin. We've already buried Kevin. we buried him last week. Thank you for the help." The horror of Home Alone 2. All right, but. So yes, we have a conflict with the hotel workers. We have another conflict. It's not really a conflict, but it's another arc of the film where Kevin, kind of experiences the pigeon lady, and
he didn't learn his lesson from the first film.
Right, and he kind of The idea, I guess, the idea behind what John Hughes is driving at here is that like you can help, people can help each other, right? Like so, the pigeon lady helps Kevin, and Kevin helps the pigeon lady, and together their synergy is
I think you mean Mary Poppins. Mary Poppins is trapped in Central Park and is
yeah, right.
A flock of pigeons that are just attracted to her, and she's been trying to get away for 30 years, and she can't.
What I will say is that while I love Home Alone 2 as a movie, I do acknowledge that it is too long at 2 hours. It's definitely that's definitely an extended runtime. I think that John Hughes got a little bit ahead of himself. He is a little indulgent in Home Alone 2, and I do think that there are just too many elements to this movie that make it a little bit too long. Like, I think we can lose the pigeon lady.
I say the whole pigeon lady sequence when they're in the theater, where it's supposed to basically be like him at the church talking to the snow shovel guy. I was looking at my phone the entire time, so I'm like, yeah, I know the conversation. It's basically just open your heart and follow your dreams. And blah, 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 blah,
I think we can lose the pigeon lady because I don't think that it's necessary to the movie, and I do think again that this is, while I think Home Alone 2 has a lot of great moments to it, that even though it follows like the same idea as the original, it definitely branches off. I think that the pigeon lady hews way too close to the original, and it's not necessary to the movie. Like, we've got so many other things happening. You've got him. You already have the motivation for him to help out with, stopping the sticky bandits, because he already knows that he wants to help with the toy store, because he knows that they're donating all that money to the children's hospital. So there's really no reason for him to even have to encounter the pigeon lady who says, yeah, basically you should do a good deed tonight, because the good deed ideas are already implanted in his head. Like, he already knows that he's going to stop the sticky bandits. So I feel like it's unnecessary, and it adds probably about 15 minutes of content that we really don't need in the movie. And I guess that there's a reason why it's in here, especially because she pops up later on to help him out in Central Park. But I think that they could have done this in a
otherwise
way.
Kevin would have been shot.
Yeah, right. Right.
This is how you don't get that other Home Alone 2 film. Is like they had to. Well, we got to have somebody an old lady show up to be like, "Oh, go my pigeons, go!" Otherwise, it's going to be an episode of Law and Order. Fucking got Jerry Orbach running around and Chris Noth back then. Like, what do we got? Dead kid in Central Park shooting.
I think
here we go again.
It's definitely too close to the original for comfort, and I think to cut down on the movie, if they had lost that, I think it would have been fine.
Do you think John Hughes did that purposely, or do you think it was like probably the studio being like, John, you fucking
I don't know.
You make us that $500 million, okay? You fucking write the same goddamn thing, and we'll make it again.
I do think in some part that the producers did have a role in saying make it as similar as possible because it did well.
John Hughes was the producer, so.
But to be fair too, John Hughes does have a habit of writing very similar movies. Like if you look at Dutch and Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, like you could basically make the case that those are the same movie, but they're
One's a masterpiece, the other one's trash.
But the idea is the same. The idea of traveling and you have various ailments throughout your travels is the same idea. And I think that, we probably have to look at it both ways. Maybe producer said make it very similar to Home Alone, but also John Hughes was like, I'm going to use my template that worked really well, and I'm going to just, swap things out here. Because that's basically what he does. And actually, when it comes to the sticky bandits who are, this time are trying to rob a toy store, a lot of the same ideas and devices are employed during the trap sequence of the movie, which, to be fair, I think is really interesting that this movie takes so long to get to the sticky bandits, because yes, they do show up like earlier on in the movie when we see them at the fish market and stuff, but it takes a really long time, probably like maybe 50 minutes to really get to the sticky bandits and and their new plot to like get to steal in this movie. It takes a long time to get to that. But I do think that John Hughes is really utilizing a lot of the same ideas for this movie and just trying to get a little bit more intricate with the trap sequences when we get to that point.
What did you think of Duncan's toy chest?
I like Duncan's toy chest. I think it's interesting that we see Mr. Duncan there at the beginning, and he really makes it a point to almost be like a Santa Claus figure. He's there. He doesn't refer to himself in the first person. He just says Mr. Duncan. Mr. Duncan's going to do this. Mr. Duncan's going to do that. And then disappears, when Kevin's leaving the store. I think it's an interesting way to show that. And I'm not really sure why they played it that way, but
I think, here's one thing I hate about toys in Christmas films. You go to like a toy store or whatever, and like, oh my god, look at all this shit. You know what they are? They're not toys. They're antiques. They got like, oh, here's this Nutcracker doll. It's like, yeah, it's from 1872. It's antique. Don't touch it, you little shit. Where's like the Sega Genesis, the Super Nintendo, the Talk Boy? Where's the actual toys for the kids of these generations? When you go to like a toy shop at any Christmas film, they're always these ridiculous
right.
like. No wonder why
it's like Punch and Judy.
It's no wonder why when like the elves and like Santa Claus like kids don't believe in Christmas anymore. It's like, no shit, you're making a wooden doll for them. Timmy doesn't care. Tim Allen's right. Oh, here comes Santa on a Panzer. That's what the kids want.
Well, yeah. I mean, if you think about it, Kevin's coming into the store and he's already got the fucking Talk Boy. So he's got like the top of the line toy of the 90s, and he's coming into Duncan's toy chest, and Duncan's like, I've got a wooden pterodactyl for you. Wooden pterodactyl on a string. How would you like unpainted turtle doves on ornaments on a tree? Would that suit you?
I like the aesthetic of like Christmas films, like toy stores in these films are ridiculous. Like the whole like 1840s cash machine, hold on, let me sit here and open the till. I gotta do like 5 round cranks to get the pop open. Like,
how much was the toy? Did the toy ring up?
It was like $23 and like 50 cents. And I was like a thing of goo and a pack of condoms. I don't fucking know.
Honestly, I thought he said it was $23.73,
which would probably be like $60 in today's money.
And then obviously Kevin gives him $25, and he gives him $1.25 back. And I was like, I think he gave him incorrect change. I think he screwed him on a few coins, but
not only that, fucking these assholes with their life lesson are sitting here holding up the goddamn line. Oh, hold on, Mr. Duncan likes to take the money on down to the children's hospital to see all the dying children, to give them one little joy in life before they die. It's so fun. Here's some turtle doves, and you'll learn to love life, and blah, blah, blah. Well, some poor family sitting back, they're like, hey, asshole, my kid wants to go to Denny's after this. Let's fucking hurry this up and come on. You're holding the line up.
That's the other thing about the New York City setting in this movie is that it's not populated enough.
It's dead. You would think
you
were filming up where we live. Like, it's all the shenanigans that go on, and it's just like, oh, there's like 4 people on the side of the street. While you constantly have people in this film be like, you want to find this kid? It's like finding a needle in a haystack. It's like, no, it's not. He's the only person fucking running around the streets at fucking 7 o'clock at night. There's apparently a curfew in 1992. Everyone's like, oh, pack your shit up.
I know.
Day's done.
I think it's interesting when he goes to Rockefeller Center at the end and is looking at the tree. And I've been to Rockefeller Center a few times, and like, I couldn't even get to the fucking ice rink. Like, it was so busy. Like, you couldn't even get near it. I think it's interesting. Like, no one's there. I mean, I know it's probably like 2 o'clock at night now, but still, you would think that people would just be out and about because it's New York City. It's a city that never sleeps.
It's Christmas too, so
It's true. I mean, I don't know.
They're not like tucked away, like, oh, I can't do anything. It's Christmas.
Yeah, I feel like it would be busier, but yeah. Obviously, in every movie like that, like Elf too, another New York City movie, it's not as busy as like it's clear that they were like, shut the street down. There's too many fucking people walking through here,
It's not the French Connection where they're shooting the car chase scene during the middle of like actual pedestrians walking, and like the horn honking is actually to warn them to get the fuck out of the way. But yeah, no, it's just that's always an aesthetic with Christmas films. It's always bugged me. It's like, just that novelty of like, we're all living in Charles Dickens's A Christmas Carol, and we're not.
So what do you think of the actual Sticky Bandits part of when they go back to the house? It's basically it's Kevin's uncle who's renovating their like apartment.
I have since I was a kid always wondered what the fuck that like tube popping out of the house was.
Yeah, right. Yeah, like the trash chute thing that they've got that he climbs up.
I think that's like supposed to like a vent so like you don't get like poisoned by the toxins inside. But,
Kevin climbs up it. Like Kevin later had lung cancer.
Not only that though, the fact that he was able to pull out his dad's address book and figure out how to read an address and be like, oh yeah, and it just so again serendipitously it so happened to be like 2 blocks away from the plaza and fucking Duncan's toy chest. So, woohoo!
Well, I've known some grown men and women who weren't able to read the grid system in New York City. So more power to Kevin if he understands where 95th Street is.
Well, if nobody's fucking around in town, it's pretty easy to run around the streets if no one's running around.
Yeah. So what do you think? What do you think? Is this one better than Home Alone with the traps and such, or is
it's very. I mean, they're not bad, but it's very much fucking the same shit, and
it actually
it's just there to be like Wile E. Coyote Roadrunner garbage. Like, Kevin kills people. Actually, kills people this time. Like they're dead. Like every time he dropped a brick on fucking Harry's head, dead. It's not. Oh, how many fingers do we have? He's dead. Man's dead. He's committed little sociopath committed manslaughter. Like. And probably actual murder like 6 times throughout this film.
First of all, I want to say, yeah, they kind of repeat something because Harry. It's Harry. Harry gets his hat set on fire in the first movie, and then he also gets it set on fire in this movie. Here he does the nice handstand into the toilet, and blows up gasoline in the toilet. But I think this movie kind of returns to some of the tropes that they used in the first one. However, I do think that there are a couple of funny moments during those scenes, especially when Marv is in the basement and climbing up, or actually falls into the basement, and he just looks up and he says, "Wow, what a hole!" I say that all the time. I use that in my daily life all the time. When do I use that in my daily? I don't know, but I do.
All I know is from after watching him set up the traps in this, it's literally like Kevin sits around at home all day watching PBS This Old House. That's how he's like figured out like how can I jury rig like this up and that up, and he's sitting there watching Bob Vila on This Old House. Like
I know,
like
he'd give our engineer friend a run for his money. Set up an ergonomic chair. Kevin's got it first than our engineer friend. But no, I mean, I think like this movie.
Not only that too. The fact that Kevin starts shit in this, like he's the reason why any of this happens. He could just walk away. He doesn't have. He could go to the police and say like tell him like he knows who's gonna. Break into Duncan's toy chest, etc. Nope, he feels he's got to wrap a brick up and throw it through a window.
That is very true because
he could literally he could just he chases after the mischief, not letting the mischief come to him.
All he really needs to do is say, "Hey, I'm going to the police. He goes to the police. Truthfully, they may not believe him, but he'll say, listen, at 6 p.m. or whatever time it was, it's midnight actually. At midnight, I'm throwing a brick through that fucking window. So you better be there to stop me. So he throws the brick through the window. The police are already there, and then they catch them in the act. Like, that's all that really needed to happen. But no, this sociopath had to basically lure them to a booby-trapped house. It's like fucking some of those things that you hear about, like jungle, Viet Cong style shit that he's got going on here. Did you like too after like he takes the Polaroid stuff up and he sets the board up and they hop on it and then Marv goes flying through the air and crashes through that Ford and it's like smashed in like Jesus Christ, like all it was missing was like a Death Wish explosion to go with it. Just like oh, what happened? Oh, Marv got incinerated by that Pinto because when his body had it after going at that speed, it lit the bumper on fire and caught the cat. Again, Home Alone 2 could be a completely different movie if that happened. Mm-hmm. There's a Sticky Bandit barbecue happening over on the other street. No, I mean I think that this movie had again I have a big nostalgia for Home Alone 2, but I don't think that it has the traps that the first one has, but I will say that it has quite a number of good lines that I like. The one line that I really like is when they're like, "What's that sound?" And you just we get the shot of the tool chest falling down the stairs, and then it hits the door, slams them into the back of the wall, and Marv just says, "That's the sound of a tool chest falling down the stairs." It's fucking hilarious. Well, not only that though, it is funny, but the whole. He ties a rope to the fucking Craftsman tool chest, and then he ever so, rips, with such ease, like he's pulling a fucking, the cord to start your weed whacker, and this thing comes flying down. You know how heavy those fucking things are? Let alone when they're loaded with tools? If Marv tries pulling that door handle with a rope, it's gonna actually, he's gonna have to, really yearn on it to get that thing to fucking go down. It's not just gonna go, and, come tumbling down. That what kind of velocity are you throwing open doors? That bugged the shit out of me, thinking about it now, because it's how hard you'd have to pull on that thing to get that thing to cooperate with you to then go down the stairs? It's so stupid. I know. I will say the best part about the Sticky Bandits and the wet Bandits is anytime Joe Pesci's around and he's doing his little fucking grumbling, and I fucking laugh. He's he missed out his calling on being a gremlin. Yeah. Yeah. Because that's what he sounds like as he's walking around How'd you like Joe Pesci at first trying to get into the place, instead of trying to walk up the stairs which are blocked, he's like, I want an Olympic jump from this fucking track up to the fire escape ladder, and Well, he knows he's already got the brand on his hand, which is a nice callback. So he knows I'm not gonna just try the front door because I know that's gonna be messed up. So no, I think it's funny, but how do you feel about the John Williams score in this one?
It's the same. Is that him at the theater doing the conducting? It looks like
I don't know. I don't know if it is or not. I feel
it's just missing Carol the Bells.
I think again, this is sort of obviously he does put in a couple different renditions, but again, this is sort of like a copycat sort of thing, where it was hey, we've already got the main score. You don't need to do. If we can cut down on the amount of money that we're spending on you making original music for this movie, all the better. Nope, you're right. He was the conductor. Yep. He's uncredited, but he was the conductor in that. You were right. But yeah,
I was gonna say it looked a lot like him.
I do think that they were encouraging of John to say, you know what? You put in a pretty perfect score for the last one. We'll obviously pay you the royalties, but we don't need anything big from you this time.
It's just a bunch of remix of Christmas time.
Yeah.
Christmas time. It's Christmas time. Christmas time. Christmas time.
So where do you stand on this? Do you think that the first movie or this one is the better movie? What's your feeling?
I think the first one, but I mean it's close because again, like they're so by the numbers, so close to each other. Mm-hmm. There's things I like about this movie more than I like about the first. I like having Tim Curry and Rob Schneider in the whole hotel bit. Even though it's got Trump going down the hall and to the left. Which, by the way, Kevin, excuse me, where's the lobby? You're walking through it, you dumb little shit. Like, and Trump being like, down the hall to the left. It's like, you're literally standing in the lobby. That's what that is. Like,
the idea of entering a building is called the lobby.
So the lobby, yeah, you know, like, it would have made more sense. Like, excuse me, where's the atrium? Like, where's, you know. But there's certain notes in this, I think, that play a little better. Like I said, like that, like the whole hotel part and, you know, Tim Curry and the shenanigans that go on there. Even though a lot of it is based off of, like, a lot of the beats when the hotel shenanigans are basically the same shit from the first movie. It just works better because of the people who are involved in it. But I think overall, I think the fact that the first one, you know, you get that nice original taste. You get the nice moment of Santa fucking trying to start up his shitty little car with his little elf there. You get John Candy and his polka trying to, you know. Because in this one, you think, like, oh, you're going to see Catherine O'Hara desperately trying to track down her kid. No, she's, like, there for 5 minutes. Like, have you seen this kid? Have you seen this kid? You know.
And you most certainly don't get John Candy.
No, and you don't. And John Hurd, we get for a second John Hurd, like, I'll go out there. And she's like, no, you stay here. And he's like, oh, okay. Yeah. So, I mean, it's still a really good movie, and, you know, but I think the first one is a more complete film just because it's of, you know, the originality. I think the biggest detriment to this film, even though it still works, is the fact that it's so by the numbers, beat for beat, the same goddamn thing as the first one. Mm-hmm. You know, they didn't want to take any chances. They were too busy counting their money and seeing more money and going for that money.
Yeah, I would say I like them both, and I definitely would never skip one in the holiday season. I do think that Home Alone is probably the better movie because it is the probably the most like you said, complete is I guess the best word. It's very, very succinct. I think Home Alone 2 kind of gets indulgent, gets lost in itself a little bit. But it does have elements to it that I like more than the first one. Like the whole New York City nostalgia thing for me is really big. So that's one of the reasons why I like this movie a lot. So it's really hard to pick one. But I guess that leads us to, on a scale of 0 to 10, celebrity ding dang dong.
What the fuck is Ding Dang Dong? Is that
It's
supposed to be
made
like
up. It's made up.
some Pat Sajak show?
Yeah, it's supposed to
Just
be like celebrity Hollywood Squares or something like that, or like celebrity password or something. It's made up, but yeah, no. On a scale of 0 to 10, celebrity ding dang dong episodes, what would you give Home Alone 2: Lost in New York?
I'd give it an 8. I like it a lot. I mean, it's still something that I'm incredibly nostalgic for. Something that, you know, I don't go out of my way to watch because I'm not a sadomasochist like you, and I don't want to sit down and watch Christmas films all the time. But it's still very good. It's got moments that are better than the first one. There's such comparable films. It's, you know, I can see somebody, you know, picking and choosing which one they like more. Everyone's great in it. I think Macaulay Culkin's definitely the better in this than he was in the first one, especially because now he's older. It's not like kind of cringy child acting. Like he's actually acting.
Culkin is great. I think he does a really great job.
Yeah. I think one of the short points in this film is the fact that Catherine O'Hara, she's not utilized nearly as much as she should be, because she is such a delight and was such a delight in the first film. Watching her kind of plight. In this one, her and John Hurt are like, it's happened again, and there's it's all background. I think because we introduced, the Plaza staff as villains in this group, we don't get the level of the wet bandits that you would expect to have in this, because they don't show up as like a conflicting force until you're halfway through the film, an hour into the film. But Joe Pesci and Dan Hurt still do or is it John? No, sorry. Fuck that up. Who the fuck plays Harry?
Well, Joe Pesci plays Harry.
No, that's Marv.
Oh,
no,
Joe Pesci plays Harry. Daniel Stern plays Marv.
I've been mixing them up my entire life.
You're thinking of Daniel Stern, most notable for his role in Deep Star 6.
Point is, they're still good. Do a good job, just not as, they're not given as much to do, and the stuff they are given to do, though fun, isn't as noted as it was in the first film. But I would say an 8 out of 10. It's a fun Christmas romp. It's definitely a Christmas film I can tolerate. Like I said, I've seen it more than the first one, but I would say the first one's got to beat by just a little bit because it's got that originality to it. It's not John Hughes being lazy as shit, writing basically the same movie and cashing a check. Mm-hmm. It's still fun. It's still got that Hughes heart to it. It's just not as good. Holy shit, that was Ali Sheedy as the New York ticket agent? Wow. John Hughes, way to bury her in the film.
Didn't even notice. Honestly.
When are we doing the Breakfast Club? That's the real answer.
So I would give this an 8 out of 10 as well. I agree. I think it's a good movie. For what it does. It obviously is a pretty close replica of the original. Like I said, it has a nostalgia factor for me that may not hit everybody the same way, but for me, the New York City atmosphere, the way that it incorporates all of those elements and kind of city hopping and stuff like that, I think works really well and kind of it gives me good feelings, which is what you want from a holiday movie. I don't think it's the best movie, and I think that it's definitely overly long at 2 hours. I think that there's a lot that could be chopped out, but I do think that it has a lot of great comedy, has a lot of just dialogue that I love, that I will use in everyday life.
What a hole.
Exactly. Say that to my wife every night. Tim Curry is great in this movie as well, and Rob Schneider too. They work off of each other really well, and like I said, Macaulay Culkin is excellent here again. He's kind of excelled a little bit more from his first, even though in Home Alone he's really great. I mean, does a great job in that movie, and it obviously embodies Kevin entirely. But I think he does a really good job here too. So overall, I mean, this movie is really good. It is definitely a holiday classic. I would never skip it for the Christmas season. I just think it's a little bit overlong, and probably the first movie is the better movie, but this also has a lot of elements to it that just make it very nostalgic. And so next time we're going to have to do Home Alone 3, because technically that is a holiday movie too, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's been a long time since I've seen that movie.
I have seen Home Alone 3 an inordinate amount of times.
Yeah. And also written by John Hughes, right?
Yep, and it has Scarlett Johansson in it.
And Scarlett Johansson nude in that one.
No, I think she's like 15 there.
No, I'm kidding.
But she is in the movie.
She's in the movie itself.
Yeah, she's the older sister.
Yeah. I it's been a long time since I've seen it, and to be honest with you, I also forgot that he had written Beethoven. So it definitely doesn't surprise me that I forgot that he wrote Home Alone 3.
When are we gonna do Beethoven? When are we gonna do Charles Grodin month? Charles Grodin.
Who knows? Maybe.
What do you mean you forgot he wrote Beethoven? The Beethoven is very Hughesian.
Is Home Alone 4 is a Christmas movie too?
I haven't seen outside of that. I just know in one of them they lured Malcolm McDowell into it, and
it looks like Home Alone 4 is also a Christmas movie. I did not know that. But oh my God, in Home Alone: The Holiday Heist too. I guess we've got our next year's set up for us because I didn't realize that these are all Christmas movies.
Yeah, I think Holiday Heist is the one that has Malcolm McDowell in it. Yep.
It has
look at
3.5.
Look at that terrible DVD cover artwork of a not Macaulay Culkin in 2012 being like, ah!
Oh boy.
Malcolm McDowell stars as Sinclair. Fresh off those Halloween movies from Rob Zombie, Malcolm McDowell and I need money. Give me money. The man's a hero. He's definitely somebody who's a great actor who, like, I just act in shit for the sake of acting.
Yeah, pretty much. A true thespian. What's next for us next time?
We're doing On Her Majesty's Secret Service.
We are, which you have vehemently claimed is a Christmas movie.
If Die Hard's a Christmas movie, so is On Her Majesty's Secret Service.
I guess that'll be a talking point on the and in the episode. How Christmassy is it?
Whether or not it's that as Christmassy as you think it's gonna be, it doesn't matter. It's a fucking great film. So.
Well, it's gonna be a talking point. That's all I'm saying. It's gonna be. We're gonna sit down and we're gonna say, well, let's tally up the Christmassiness of it.
Winter.
Okay. Not Christmas based, but okay.
Christmas.
All right.
Angels of Death. Sitting wrapping their Christmas gifts.
Okay.
By the Christmas tree.
Wrapping. Okay. Hot cocoa.
Ski lodge, ski resort.
Okay, I'll allow it.
Telly Savalas.
I can imagine Telly Savalas sipping hot cocoa. Okay.
No, he's smoking cigarettes in the most bougie, effeminate way, but it's delightful.
How about Christmas trees? Number of Christmas trees.
Yes, you get one.
you get one. All right.
No, there's more than one,
Yeah.
but I mean.
Okay, all right. I'll allow it. It'll be a fun time. I've never seen it. Where does this occur in the Bond sequence?
So it occurs right after You Only Live Twice, where you first meet Blofeld. So that would be right after Connery's fifth film. So we get the brand new Bond, George Lazenby's first one and only film, which is one of the reasons why for years people have derided this film, but over the past 20 years it's become a fan favorite and accepted for the genius that it is, because it's a fucking great Bond film and a great film in general with great action, great pacing, great story, great intrigue, no bullshit. Some bullshit, but not a lot of bullshit, until they go back into the bullshit for Connery, for Diamonds Are Forever, because when Lazenby got done making this film, he thought, there's no way this shit's gonna make it. All that hippy-dippy shit is what the future is. Easy Rider's the future. I'm not coming back for any more films.
Interesting.
Yeah, so he was wrong.
He was wrong.
Well, and you know what? It pisses me off too because and we'll talk about it a little bit. We'll talk about it a lot when we get into it. Lazenby was not like great as Bond, but he definitely could have been great as Bond. And the fact that he didn't do other films is really disheartening because by the time we get to You Only Live Twice, and because we're not going to do every Bond film, unfortunately, as much as I'd like to, there's just too many of them. But even as enjoyable as You Only Live Twice is, by the time you get there, the film, like this franchise is going off the rails because it's going so fucking batshit crazy after Goldfinger and Thunderball and then this. So we get a more grounded reality in this film. And then after Lazenby doesn't come back, we get Connery again for Diamonds Are Forever. And the film after that, with that film and the more films, go fucking riding off into the sunset in batshit stupid land. So, and I'm not a Moore fan for the most part because most of his films are batshit stupid, outside of like 2 of the 8 that he did. But so, if Lazenby stuck around, I would have been interested in seeing like maybe instead of all the chasing, culture chasing that Eon was doing with the films, like with Live and Let Die, you get a blaxploitation film. Then right after that, you get The Man with the Golden Gun, which is a fucking kung fu film, basically. If they stuck with Lazenby, if they would have kept like more of the grounded reality, because at that same time too, you had films like Dirty Harry and Taxi Driver and such coming out. Like if they would have kept with the more serious style and how that would have been. So I think Lazenby could have done a really good job at that. So that's kind of for the next episode. But there is Christmas in this film, so that makes it a Christmas film to me because the barring on it is not that high. True. And it's a film that I wanted to do on the podcast for years. And It's the only way we're going to get it in.
Yeah. We'll do it next week. So, if you want to hear that episode, you should definitely subscribe to us. We're on pretty much any podcasting app that you can think of. Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, our home base at Anchor.fm, Good Pods, pretty much anything. Subscribe to us. Leave us a nice review on there. We're on Facebook and Twitter. You can search for us on there, Blood and Black Rum Podcast. Also, we have an email address at bloodandblackrumPodcast@gmail.com. Let us know what you like, what you don't like, what movies you want us to cover, and we'll take that into consideration. You can donate to us on Patreon at patreon.com/bloodandblackrumPodcast. That all goes towards our beer, so we appreciate that. Thanks very much. So we're going to continue our Christmas season all month long in December. And our next episode is, as you heard, on Her Majesty's Secret Service. So we hope you continue to follow along with us as we cover these holiday movies and have fun and a nice Christmas season. And until then,
take care and enjoy cutting a fart at Christmas dinner.